Welcome to the Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast.
Hello everyone. I am Carmen Drummond. I'm a millennial veteran. And the first part of that is very important, which means I have a whole lot of titles. I do a lot of things. I'm in a lot of initiatives. That means I also advocate on behalf of our veteran population. I'm a mom, an Army veteran. I'm also the National Minority Veteran Program Manager for the Center for Minority Veterans at the Department of Veterans Affairs. I wear so many hats, but today I just want to talk to you as a human.
That's cool. We like humans on this show. And what, April, we were talking about, I don't know, maybe 20 of our 24 episodes about building superhumans, right?
Absolutely. We are human fans. We were also talking about AI and when they're going to take over and how we're going to interact and intersect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm on the President's AI R&D Council, and we published our document last week, and it was amazing. It was one of the best we've ever had. And today we had our monthly meeting, and I said, hey, I think it's time to start introducing AI for the human, because all the cash flow is going into things and objects. And I'm like, nothing's going to beat the human. I don't care. We're going to evolve way faster than the technology. We'll be able to use technology way better than technology be able to use itself. So it's coming. And then did you see Apple, right? Released its cognitive computing glasses or goggles or ski goggles or whatever, right? So Carmen, tell me a little bit of where you are in the virtual space, esports, gaming, AI, and all that, and how do you kind of implement that throughout all of your hats?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So actually, how I actually found out about, Warrior Gamer Foundation is that I was the Shenandoah event. And funny story, I saw it come up in the VA internal events that were going on. So I was like, oh, cool, Veterans Day, something for my children to do. I'm gonna sign them up. So I signed them up, being proactive. And I'm like, yes, I'm gonna give mom points for this because it's gaming. And they're gonna be on a team and it's gonna be great. And they're gonna be in their rooms. And I am gonna restaurant hop for all of the free appetizers on Veterans Day. Well, my son comes upstairs. He's like, Mom, don't forget we have to go to Shenandoah tomorrow. I was like, no, we don't. What are you talking about? He was like, the game. I am on a team and they're counting on me. I have to be in Shenandoah. I said, it's online. It's a game. What do you mean? It's a game. And he's like, no, Mom, I have to be at Shenandoah. So needless to say, my idea to restaurant hop was derailed because I did not read the fine print of the event. However, it was a life-changing experience for me. My son ended up deciding that he wanted to get into esports after speaking to some of the college students there and understanding that it's not just playing video games, it's learning how to build the business, it's learning how to create games and how to market them, and really just the whole process. So in that event, I actually got to get on the sticks, played some Smash Bros. I lost, but I have been practicing on the Switch. So, I'm going to hop on the sticks here soon. My son swears he's going to beat me again, but he can't see me as Super Mario. That's all I'm saying. Super Mario, if he does nothing about having to blow your cartridge before you put it back into Super Nintendo. So I got him there.
Yeah.
But it helped us connect, right? He's a teenager. It's hard. I'm a veteran. Dealing with the invisible injuries of being a veteran, sometimes it disconnects you from your people, from your kids. And in doing that event, we were able to get closer together. So now, through this initiative, it created a personal experience for me. So now I want to share with my veterans, right? I've had you all come and speak to our coordinators. And then we're going to put on an event here soon. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, but it's coming. To
Nice.
reach veterans where they are. And I know you guys are already doing that, but this is something that is in partnership with the HBCU and VA and you all, and just making sure that we're able to not only connect with veteran populations, but to reach the underserved populations and the populations that don't normally have access. So I'm really excited about that. As for the glasses, the vision glasses that cost $3,500,
Oh, mhm.
I'll wait until they get on the third iteration and I'll buy the first ones. I do have an Oculus, so
All right.
I had a friend of mine, Miss Iasia Brown, who actually taught me and walked me through the metaverse on my Oculus for a Pride event last year. And she's like, get on the Oculus right now, Carmen. I cannot believe you. And I'm going to show you what the event is. She works over at Microsoft. So it was a really cool experience to really just see, this metaverse and how people are engaging. As far as, again, the glasses, I don't know how I feel about you all joining me in my living room, like my actual living room. With the Oculus, at least it's like here and everybody's like little cute cartoon figments of themselves. I can't have a person standing in front of me in my house. I can't.
Unless there's some kind of big hunky movie star, right?
No, my husband would not go for that.
Yeah. Well, you only see it in the goggles, we've actually talked about this, like, people just disassociating and going into these spaces and, its effects it's going to have on relationships and all that stuff. Just like everything, there is a too little, just right, and too much. So I don't know, at $3,500, I saw that, I was like, and it was funny because I saw it today. I was scrolling down, I was like, whoa, like it's all the way down at the bottom. It's like, I'm reading, I'm like, oh, by the way, Apple, like, holy cow. Okay. So they do all the videos up front to lure you in and then slap you with the price. So
Excellent marketing campaign.
oh, it was very well done. I was actually really impressed because I remember when Zuckerberg came out with his in like October or whatever last year. And I was just like, that just, I think we could have probably approached this a little bit differently. It got a lot of bad reviews, unfortunately. And anyway, so that's cool. And so I saw my VA benefits email today, and I was very impressed with a lot of things. So, is the VA like having a renaissance? Like, is it emerging from, some of the connotations that are out there to like having like a new birth? I mean, you're getting into esports, they're finally chatting with DoD, getting things in sync to handing service members off more easily. Like, I'm actually like looking forward to what's happening here.
While I cannot speak for the entire enterprise, I can speak for myself as the National Minority Veteran Program Manager and the Center for Minority Veterans. And we are reaching younger populations, connecting with the LGBTQ plus community. The center itself already covers African American, Latino, Asian Pacific Islander, Native American, Alaskan Native veterans, and then having us support underserved populations in the LGBTQ community has really been one of our newer highlights. So we do have an LGBTQ liaison that is doing an amazing job. A few events coming up, but then we explore the intersectionality of culture, of lifestyle, of identity, and kind of mix those things up. For instance, we're having a Hispanic Veterans Resource event that is aimed at the LGBTQ community within the Hispanic community. So, really just creating opportunities for every population, but also exploring those intersectionalities.
That's great. What are some of the we have a little bit of an audio hiccup with you, kind of fading in and out. So I don't know if maybe it might be are you on Starlink or something, or like, okay. I was on a call with a guy at Starlink. He's like, just want to let you know I got Starlink, and it was just kind of, but
Hold on.
yeah,
Might be something is open. Give me a second.
could be eating up your bandwidth. You probably got that game going or something.
Right.
Yeah, because I got to beat my son.
Yeah.
So.
That's so wonderful to hear that you and your son bonded. Both Ken and I were at that event. Ken brought his mom to that event.
And my son.
And your son, yes,
yeah, 5-year-old.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we all had a blast, and like it's so cool for you to say that, because my kids are 6 and 2, and they look forward to gaming. And even my 2-year-old, we give him like a fake controller, and he just pounds on it. We clap for him, and he's so excited. And they ask to play games, and we have a Mario Kart version on our PlayStation 5 that we got. Who'd we get that from? We got that from Verizon. Yeah, Verizon sent me over PlayStation 5, and it's so awesome. So I totally get what you're going through, and it's so much fun at our household too. So, but that sounds very refreshing. What are some of the if you could talk about these initiatives? They seem like they're very targeted. And so are you getting like folks that are like, wow, you acknowledging me and my identities, and like I feel like you guys are here for me now? Like, what are some of the feedback and benefits that you're seeing, if you're able to talk about them, of course?
So I wouldn't say targeted, I would say intentional.
Oh, okay, great.
So our events and outreach are very intentional, because we want to create an environment of belonging, right? We want to make sure that when anyone hears, VA or the Center for Minority Veterans, that they feel like I belong there, right? They can walk into any facility, any establishment, regional office, or interact with anyone within our staff and feel like this is a home for me, right? I can come here, it's a safe space. So through our efforts, we try to create those safe spaces. We have gotten feedback because of our intentional engagement and outreach that we're creating safer spaces where people feel that they're safer, not that they weren't safe before, but that people feel like, okay, this is a safe space for me to divulge my information, to be transparent, to be soft. That's the new trend word, soft. I want to be soft. I want to be able to cry in front of you and you not tell me to toughen up, soldier. So creating those experiences has really been life-changing for a lot of our veterans, caregivers, and even our survivors through initiatives like, the PACT Act. We have different programs that are going on that engage with populations so that we can meet the veterans where they are.
That's fantastic. I think it's amazing. And I'm sorry for the military terms. I'm still in, so the words, I understand. It's great. Everyone should feel included and loved and accepted, no matter what. And I've learned that as a parent, it's a huge thing for no matter what's going on. And when we think about it, we're all kids, right? At one point in our life, and I'll never grow up. So, I'm on the phone with my parents like every day, like asking advice and just shooting the breeze and everything. And it makes me feel loved and accepted too. And so I love that the VA is getting into that space and that you're leading these efforts, and it's near and dear to your heart. So I'd like to ask you, what was it with you in your past, perhaps, that has brought you to be so passionate about this particular intentional efforts that you're leading and that you're a part of, if you don't mind sharing?
Are you trying to make me cry? Is that the motive?
Hey, if I right, April, like,
Can I
if
be
your why,
soft?
yeah, if your why don't make you
Absolutely.
cry, yeah.
Okay. So
Open.
first, while I am a, a leader in VA. I'm not the top dog, remember that. But while I am a part of these collaborative efforts, they're very important to me. And they work because the people who are involved in the programs that are involved are passionate and believe in their work. And they want to make sure that the veteran is at the center of our initiatives, right? So having that approach. What brought me to this, as an Army veteran, well, I am an Army veteran, it's not Army. I had some pretty unfortunate things happen to me. On top of my invisible injuries, trigger warning, we like to say that so that people know, dealing with MST or PTSD or anxiety and depression, all of those things that tend to seem to almost repeat themselves a lot of times, that I saw myself and my situation as a way to find a solution. So there's no way that I'm being used for this task and this test, and I'm not supposed to be a part of the solution. My lived experience matters. My lived experience will create a lasting impact for other veterans so they don't have to endure. So that I am the voice that speaks up and says, hold on, not only am I telling you this because I heard it, but because I felt it, I lived it and learned from it. Here's what we can do better. I always say I wanted to stay in the military longer, but unfortunately the plan was different for me. And I really feel like my journey and my placement in the military was to gain perspective and experience so that I could get on a platform to advocate. And at this time, right now, where I still had the energy, where I still have the drive and the motive, and I don't have a broken spirit, and I understand that things happen to people, but I also know that myself, me as a person, I thrive in crisis. So when crisis presents itself to me, I've always been able to find a solution. So with that, I always felt like it was my superpower, and that my story would have ended on March 11th of 2011. And I would have just been another number, another soldier discharged, another veteran without a home. I had 2 kids, I would be another statistic, but I didn't stop there. And I didn't let that be the end of my story. So here I am talking to you, creating, new impacts, trying to be innovative, leveraging technology, but also ensuring that our veteran survivors and caregivers, they understand what is available to them, and that the information that's being put out, they're receiving.
I think that's amazing. I have so many parallels in my life too, and I was just a few days after you, so that's funny. We're going on 12 years now, so which is not a long time. I tell people that
No.
still feels like it's last year, 2 years ago. So that's great. We talk a lot on this podcast about resiliency, endurance, and stamina, and I've talked about the differences between the three. And when you went through and go through troubling times, it's clear that you have gotten this perspective that, hey, this is here for a reason. I'm going to learn from it, and it's going to energize and empower me so that I can make use of this, find solutions. And if it is so that no one else has to go through this, or maybe when someone else goes through this, we now have the tools, techniques, and resources available for them. Did I kind of hit that?
You did. I actually have a framework. It's called failing forward into success.
Okay.
And that's what I like to tell people. I failed forward into success. And people are like, what do you mean fail forward? First of all, I'm very comfortable with failure. Failure is my BFF. It is a learning resource. It is a learning tool to improve outcomes, to create better situations. I love failure more than I love success. Okay.
Yeah.
Success, sometimes you can rinse and repeat, but with failure, you learn this perspective and you gain this lived experience where you're able to kind of pivot when you notice that things are going wrong. right? Versus always succeeding and something's going wrong and now you're freaking out. Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Ask the crisis person, me, ask me, but those types of things, that's why I created the fail forward formula. When I was working with working B2B or with veterans or with any of my clients, I would say, in their job searches, how did you turn a failure into a success? And those are your highlights. Those are your value points. And I would definitely say it makes me more resilient. But the first thing I had to do was get comfortable and familiar with failure. Now I didn't fail on purpose, but when it did happen, and failures don't have to be catastrophic, they can be minor, but if you can take one thing from it, then it's a success.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Ken?
Go for it.
One of the things that I'm trying to build at Illinois Tech is a pathway, a transition point for our veterans and for others who are looking to take that leap and go back to college or figure out a technological area that they're interested in, like Salesforce or AWS. And what advice do you give people when they're at that transition, when they're afraid to take the leap, but they don't want to stay where they're at? How do you help people? How do you help them guide themselves through?
First, I would say start early. Don't take advice from everyone. Okay, no two situations are the same. Just because it worked for me and the fail forward method works for me, it may not work for the next person, right? Find what works for you. If you are struggling, find a reputable mentor, someone that is doing maybe what you're interested in, because you might not know what you're doing or what you want to do or what field or industry you want to get in. You just know you like stuff, fixing stuff or getting on the computer or creating you just know that you like being on the computer all day long. Or how do you turn those hobbies into your career, your next path? How can you use your military service and what you love to create a career that you never want to retire from? And that's what I did. I looked at, okay, I did this in the military. I did information technology and human resources. I like to help people. All right, I'm gonna put it together. And I started creating programs for IT certification companies and getting them connected with VA and veterans so that they can create their veteran programs and things like that. And that was one of the first things I did when I got out of the Army. So I would definitely say follow your own path. Just because your friend got a Security Plus certification and is now making $300 million a year does not mean that you will make $300 million a year. What you want to do, make sure you start slow, start early, find a mentor, utilize LinkedIn. It's a beast. Heck, that's how I got on this podcast. I've dropped a note under the LinkedIn. I was like, ooh, I'm up next. Next thing you know, I was like, hey, Carmen, you're up next. I was like, oh, for real? In real life? It's all about your network, your relationships. They're so important. They're so important. Relationships are so important. I cannot stress that enough. Speak to everyone and treat everyone with the same respect. Don't ever speak down on someone. You never know, they might be your next boss. So those are some of the takeaways. And if you'd like me to reframe it so that it's in order, please let me know.
Yeah, go for it. I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. So first, what did I say? Start early.
Start slow. Start early.
Slow. Start early.
Yeah.
Find a mentor.
Okay.
Or someone you can trust, and explore the intersectionality of your career, your military service, and things that you love. And then the last one was relationships and network. Build a relationship and network.
Okay.
And on facing fear, you said something about how they face fear.
Don't take advice from everyone. Is
There
that
you
part of the
go.
mentor?
Don't take advice from
That's the
everyone.
one. Thank you, Ken.
I got you. I see. I take notes.
You know how they say when you're in the military, the barracks lawyers, run.
Yeah. And so basically, I really like this. What you said here is create a career you never want to retire from.
Yeah.
And I love that. Do you tell folks that? Is that like a thing you tell folks?
It's a thing. It's a thing.
Okay. So how do you conquer? So I'm military. I'm about to transition, right? My career was told to me, right? I appear on a list. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going there, right? And so I don't necessarily am asked if I like a job or whatever, and it doesn't really matter. And what I love is I serve, right? And so I'm now leaving, and you're telling me to love a job. I don't know if I feel discombobulated. How do you approach folks who are institutionalized, who are now coming out, and you're like, hey, you could actually like love this job and not actually want to retire from it? Can you just help me out with that?
Well, first, you have to humanize the process. Everything for us was very like automated. Like it was like, you go here, you do this, you do this, you do this. Like literally, you get off the bus, flip your hair in a bun, get in line, go in, unpack your stuff in the line. Like everybody's doing the same thing. So if you look to your left and your right and you're not doing what they're doing, then you're wrong, right? There is a wrong and right answer. So the first thing to do is to humanize the process. I believe wholeheartedly that when you are engaging with veterans who are transitioning, you have to get to know the person first.
This is heresy. Heresy, I tell you.
You have to know the person. You have to have what I like to call the girlfriend conversation. How are you? Hi, Ken. How are you? What do you like to do when you get off work? Oh, I like to jump on a game. Oh, really? What games do you like to play? All right. If you could see Smash Bros as this type of game, what would you change about it and how would you do it? Well, if you can get technical with it and I see you get excited about it, I'll continue with the technical piece of gaming. But if it's the engagement piece and you're like, oh, I just really like talking to people, so you're an engagement person. You like, being a humanitarian, maybe. You like providing, support and resources, maybe program management or peer support or engagement and outreaches for you. So I'll go down that path. But if they're like, oh no, I just really like to think about, the sequences and the numbers and the this and the that. Okay, so you like numbers. I'm not that great with numbers, but you know what? Let's pull out Google and start looking at some stuff. Let's see what we can do to help get you excited about your next career. And it takes a lot from that person that is transitioning, that veteran, to pay attention to the social cues. Do they get excited when you mention this? Do they cut their eye? Kind of. I'm not asking everybody to be like psychiatrists, but at the same time, when someone gets excited about something, their voice changes, their positions change. And that's really the first phase, humanizing the process. Once you humanize the process, then at that point, if you haven't built trust, then you have an issue, right? Because through the humanizing process, you have to build trust. We have to know our servicemen and women, we don't trust easy. We're just not built like that, right? We don't trust easy. Now I got your 6, right? But we don't trust easy. So in building trust, you get that soft person, you get that vulnerability, that transparency. Now people are able to tell you what happened to them. What are your roadblocks? What are you afraid of in your transition? Now you have this holistic approach. And it's okay, well, you're afraid of this. Well, maybe you're not ready for employment. Maybe you really need to get some support before we start on this employment journey. Because if you force someone into employment or their next career before they're mentally ready, then you have a whole nother issue. You have an issue at home, you have an issue at work, and you have an issue by yourself, because it really does create this isolation process and this loneliness because the people at work don't get you and the people at home don't get you. So forget it. I'd rather just stay by myself. And these are just like things that I know from my own personal experience, not speaking from a medical sense or anything, and from the people that I've encountered and assisted. So I think I have my glasses on, so I keep going like this. So once you've built that trust and you're able to determine which path to go, then you're really able to provide them with the steps for that career or for that resource, and they will always come back to you. I have veterans that come back to me to this day, and they're like, oh, you changed my life. You got me back into work, or I got a promotion. I get so excited when I see those messages. It's like I've moved on from any of my past roles, and they're still reaching out to me. I've bumped into veterans that I've supported and provided resources at VA. Like they work there. They're like my colleagues, and it's cool because we get to connect. And I get to see them in their element, and I get to see just this whole person, but they were vulnerable with me and they were transparent with me. So the excitement that I see when I see them and we see each other is genuine, and it's different because you remember when the person was, down or really needed support, and you remember the steps along the way, and to see them where they are at this healed whole self. At least if they are going through things, they know where to go. They know how to trust. They know how to connect. And it really just comes from humanizing the process.
On the where to
So-
go, can you give them our listeners some examples of where you think they should go if they are struggling right now? One of the things we always try to do is give some resources for folks going through some troubles and trials. I
could definitely provide you with resources. You guys caught me off guard with that one. Look, of course, you can always go to va.gov. If you are, I always like to say, regardless of if you're a minority veteran or not, you can always come to the Center for Minority Veterans. We never turn any veteran away. I always tell people, especially when I get individuals that are like, I'm not a minority, you can't help me. And I'm like, come back. I bet you I can help you or teach you something you didn't know. And it always happens. It always happens. And I always provide them with a resource, and they're like, okay, I got you. So you can do that, which is va.gov / Center for Minority Veterans. You can also go again to the VA website where there's benefits and so on and so forth. For LGBTQ veterans, there are LGBTQ liaisons. And we also have minority veteran program coordinators across VHA, VBA, and NCA. And that's my program. That's my baby. But it's something that we support. Just go to www.va.gov / minority. Yep.
Well, if a normal person, if they just come in here and they search, it's the #1 hit. Look at that. That's impressive. Man, you guys are on it. I gotta tell you, like, as you're talking, like I was genuinely captivated by what you were saying. And I have to tell you, like, I have been terrified of this transition because I just didn't know this stuff about what the VA was doing. And like, you're very proactive, and like what you were saying, if that happens to me, I'm going to be very happy. And I'm actually like looking forward. I'm like, can I just do this right now? Can I go through that questioning process so I'm ahead of the game? Because that sounded really nice.
I'm really glad that you brought that up. There's no such thing as starting too early. Transition does not have a start or an end date. People are continuously transitioning. So if you know that you're getting out in the next 2 years, start connecting with people. Start talking to people. Hey, what was your transition like? Hey, what's it like if you know where you're going to live and you want to start to get to know the VA facility? Start to speak to veterans. You have the Vet Center that's available that you can go to in your local areas. There's just so many programs and resources that are out there. I wish that I could, have them all readily available for you so I can just spew them all out, but I don't. I'm going to be transparent. I don't have them all with me, but of course, in everyday, how would you say, federal employee, I can send you an email with that resource.
That would be
Nice.
I
fantastic.
can
One
follow
of
up with the email.
One of the things I'm excited about the work that you're doing is, you're reaching, my uncle was a Vietnam era vet and he's, shut down for decades. And only now did he go through PTSD training. And only now is he acknowledging that, he has something to heal up from. So I think that, the times there are changing and even those older folks who are, it's not, I know you introduced yourself as a millennial, but as a millennial, you're helping some, all of the generations that came before you in the structure of the way the resources are being distributed now. And I think that's just fantastic. And finding ways to really support those programs and get more people in your programs, particularly the homeless veterans. That really breaks my heart, and I see that in Chicago quite more often than I would like to. But I think that's why I asked about resources. I love to share them, and I'm really grateful to listen to you. Like Ken said, I'm also totally fully attentive with as you speak.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you brought up, Vietnam era veterans. A lot of times it's the engagement with the caregivers and the family members, right? That bring them back to VA or educate them. Because sometimes it's like, oh, I got this letter in the mail from VA. I don't understand it. It's like, okay, well, here's what it says, right? And part of that is educating the caregiver and the family member. Putting on events, which are things that we do to educate them on processes, how to understand benefits and what's available to them, what resources are available, survivor's assistance, things like that. And providing those additional resources have really helped us to reach older veterans or veterans that maybe just aren't engaged. It really is a support of the family members. They always say, hey, do you have any limitations or things like that? They start to think about it when they get older. So I would definitely say caregivers and family members have been pivotal in reaching the populations that maybe didn't want to be involved and are now involved or were harder to reach.
So perhaps if someone's listening and they know, or they are one of these folks that kind of, shunned away or didn't really initiate conversation with the VA, you're saying like, hey, do it now. It's never too late. We're here. We're welcoming you. Right. That's what I'm getting from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Even for our Spanish speaking veterans that are in, Puerto Rico or Texas or anywhere across the United States and our territories, we do have information in Spanish, and especially from CMV. We send stuff out in Spanish. We did a health equity event a month ago, and that was in English and in Spanish. We had support from our internal Veterans Affairs Hispanic Association. Don't get me, William, to make sure he's the president, to make sure that we had support for those types of initiatives. So we really do collaborate internally and externally to create these innovative solutions to reach these veterans. But it's never too late. If you need support as far as translation for language, you let us know. And, the goal for us is to, again, meet the veteran where they are instead of the approach of bringing them to us.
I tell you, I mean, this is great. It's really great to hear all of this. So I'm curious. I know I'm on a abbreviated timeline, but we've had a very plush conversation tonight. What do you, maybe not you specifically, but can you help us maybe understand the relationship between VA and some of the VSOs? Because I know that there are people that go to the VSOs and not like VA. Is there a handoff at all or outreach to those organizations as well?
So we do collaborate with VSOs quite often. A lot of times we will reach out to our VSOs. A lot of them are certified to help veterans with their claims, and they do provide them with that type of support, resources, and really building camaraderie, right? So we do connect with VSOs. We do collaborate with them as a whole. I would say in local areas, people know who their VSOs are, who their service officers are, and things like that. So it really is a collaborative effort when reaching the veteran population.
Sounds like you got it covered. I mean, it's April, I mean, I'm kind of out of things. She's blowing me away on everything. So
Absolutely. Hitting, firing it all out.
yeah.
Firing it all out. Bam, bam, bam.
And I
with
wasn't
no
prepared
notes.
for this.
All right.
That's good.
Off
It's
the
genuine.
cuff. That's the best. I guess my last question would be what advice would you give for someone who's in a dark place and is scared and struggling? What advice would you give them if they are a veteran and they're maybe dealing with loneliness, dealing with unemployment, dealing with other the harsher realities that can happen to folks?
That's very hard because each person is different. Each circumstance is different. You have to think about culture and tradition and geographical location and access. But I would tell that person, if they could hear me now, that you have a purpose and I need you to fulfill it. And in fulfilling that, you must build up the courage to get the help that you need. So if that's by calling 1-800-827-1000 for VA, if it's going to your local vet center or your local VSO, do that. If it's a family member that you trust and you're like, hey, I'm really feeling, down. I'm really feeling lonely. I really need some help. Encourage them to reach out on your behalf if you just are not ready. But I guarantee you that when you meet that person that's receiving you, the person that's going to help triage you or to provide you with resources, you will thank yourself. You will. There are always opportunities for you to find better solutions, to add more value, and to just really be a ray of sunshine in someone's life. So I always carry my cards with me. And whenever I do see homeless veterans, I always give them my card with a number for them to call or my email address or address that they could, do you want help? And sometimes they're like, no, I'm okay. I just, need a few dollars. But sometimes they're like, I do want help. And I've walked people to VA hospitals, gotten them connected. This person needs help. They want help. Let's help them. So you just have to be willing to ask for the help and receive the help when it is being presented to you.
But like you said earlier too, with the Vietnam vets, I mean, the veteran doesn't exist in isolation. There's an ecosystem of family and friends. And you are also, I just want to make sure we're clear, the VA is also there for those folks as well. So spouses, children, nuclear family, whatever, any of them can leverage the VA to get themselves help, but also to maybe facilitate help to the veteran, correct?
Well, Now, depending on the veteran's disability status would determine if their familial unit will have access to benefits.
Got it.
So I'm not a benefits person, so I couldn't get into all of that. But I could definitely connect you with someone.
Good. So irrespective, call, right? Get in contact.
Yep, get in contact. I'm the person that gets to make noise and not get in trouble for it. I'm the person to say, that's not right. Or we're doing this thing, or this is where we need to change, or here's how we need to impact this population. But we do have the events for caregivers and survivors and veterans. There are opportunities. I know there are some VSOs that allow family support members or family care members or so on and so forth. So I would definitely say that those benefits, they can check with their local VSOs. But as far as benefits, it would definitely depend on the rating. But we always have resources. A family member, of course, needs support for a veteran. They can get resources and provide it to the veteran. Or if the veteran wants to have them speak for them, there are other alternatives and other ways for us to engage and connect with those family members on behalf of the veteran. Additionally, like I said, we have the minority veteran program coordinators that are at the local level, and they work in their areas, and they are the subject matter experts of those catchment areas. So they understand what the need is for their veteran population. So that's another resource for individuals to, or whether it be family members or someone, to get more information. They can reach out to Minority Veteran Program at va.gov and say, hey, Carmen, I heard you on a podcast. I need some support with this person over here. I need to get connected with my Minority Veteran Program Coordinator, or MVPC for short. So sending an email there would be a great start. Again, also visiting va.gov/Center for Minority Veterans. You can click, you can do an Ask VA there, or I'm having a veteranism. Just so you know, a veteranism for me means I forgot my train of thought. That's what it means.
It's okay. We're all used to it.
I'm having a veteranism. Okay, so you can go there, Center for Minority Veterans, and then always check for our events page, and just stay engaged and subscribe to our newsletter, shameless plug, for our events, and answer the questions, right? So on there, it gives you an opportunity to give some of your demographic information. So if I know something's going on in Iowa, in a specific area, and I want to choose Iowa to send the information to because it's only for Iowa veterans, then I can send it to Iowa and everyone who's in that area, based on what we already have in our subscription list, I can send it to them. So it's really important that not only do people subscribe, but if they can provide demographic information, that would be great, because it helps with providing that intentional outreach and engagement, and making sure that we are making the right strides and connecting with everyone, and again, meeting them where they are.
This is great. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's very precious, and this is in the evening time, and we're all doing this out of passion in our own hearts, because we've all been there and we know how it is. And I really want to thank you for your time, your energy, your passion for all of us. And it's very clear. And I have to say, I'm not afraid of this transition anymore. Like, I've been petrified. Like, I'm not institutionalized. This is really scary. And now it's like, no, the VA is going to help me, and Carmen, I just want to say thank you,
You're welcome.
for that. So
you are so welcome.
I think
that's
you
all I
had
got.
one shameless plug, right? Aren't you you're doing an event with Johnny Cash and the guys in DC, right?
Yes, that was the event I was talking about earlier.
Nice.
With Howard University and the VA Center for Minority Veterans, and then of course WarriorGMR, making sure that we have, we're providing access and equity to a population of veterans that, historically are underserved or just considered underserved, if you will. Try to be as politically correct as possible. So I don't want to get in trouble. Cut that part out.
Oh, I got myself in big trouble last podcast.
Lord, don't do that. So yeah,
I know, right? It's gonna come back.
yes, I'm very
But it's
excited about that game. I mean, about that event. Getting to see the veterans and their elements and the family piece of it. It's on the 15th and 16th of September. So if more information will be coming out about that event, I believe there's a graphic going around as a save the date. So I'm really excited about it. Actually, we have a meeting tomorrow. So now you have evidence that I remember that the meeting is tomorrow. So I have to make it, have to be there.
Right. I'll be there
but yeah,
too.
I'm very grateful for this opportunity to connect with both of you. And to have this really smooth, intentional conversation, because I forgot I had kids this whole entire time, just so you know. I forgot they existed just for a second. So I appreciate the opportunity to share my joy, my passion, and just every part of me that serves our population. Thank you for this opportunity. And thank you to our veterans who, always give the ultimate sacrifice, and to the families who are there enduring the same while these veterans are serving their country. Thank you.
Yep. I thank them too. And that's
That's a
that's all we
beautiful
got.
wrap up, isn't it, kid?
Yeah, it is. Actually, it really is. So thanks so
you.
much. And we're out.
All right. Thank you, guys. If you need me for anything outside of this podcast, let me know.
Warrior Gamer Headquarters Podcast. Out. Warrior Gamer Headquarters Podcast. Out.